we have a story. We're talking about NBA draft. We're getting particular here. A lot of people talk about the big two, Karl Anthony Towns and Jahlil Okafor, but there's another name making splashes.
Yeah, there's a name, and it's not an easy name. Kristaps Porzingis. He's now being called potentially the steal of the draft. He's from Latvia. He's 6'11", tall, lanky, can do a lot of different things. They say he has very unique skill sets. What's your first impression of this guy?
When you look at the guy, a legit 7-footer with elite athleticism, and when you look at guys like that, you're like, okay, that's tantalizing, get to the rim, but when you combine that with the ability to step back, hit mid-range, hit three-point shots, this guy has the potential to be an offensive dynamo. Not much emphasis is put on the defensive side of this guy, but anytime you have long arms and you're tall and you can really jump up there and contest shots, you have the ability to be a shot blocker, and he's an intelligent guy. He's been working with his brother for years in terms of honing his game. They really pick it apart between free throw shooting. He has a little jump hook inside the post. He has a mid-range game. He has everything. But he's got a kind of a thin body type, so people are worried, when you look at how he plays, while he's athletic, is he quick enough for some of the smaller fours, and is he big enough to be a 5? So his position is kind of a bit interesting. I think ultimately he becomes a 4, but it's just one of those things that he's going to have to put on 20 pounds. He has all the tools in the world, but can he do it?
A lot of praise has been thrown out for him. Let's start with the positives. I've heard 3 names thrown out there. Dirk, I've heard Paul Gasol, and I've heard Chris Bosh.
Very interesting. Now, as soon as I hear Dirk and I hear European player, it always irks me a bit.
It's the immediate connection.
Because there's something that ever since Dirk came out, every your Darkos, your Andrea Bargnanis, they all have to fall into that bit. And while he's like Dirk in a couple ways, he's far more athletic than Dirk. And I think it could be interesting. Chris Bosh, the same way, a little long, rangy, athletic. I like all those comparisons, but to me, I've been really trying to put it together in one piece, and I can't, because I've been looking for a guy who's that athletic and can shoot. You have your Serge Ibaka, but he's far different than Serge Ibaka. He's just a very unique player that's going to take the right fit. I think you need a real center next to him, but he's an incredibly coachable guy, and he's one of those guys that a lot of GMs after this recent workout have said could possibly be the number 2 prospect after Karl Anthony Towns this entire draft.
Yeah, okay, so one of the immediate concerns on the negative side of things is Euro bust. It's this stigmata about Euro guys, they're not tough enough, they haven't played against good competition, they're finesse guys. He hasn't played against American competition. This pre-draft workout, he didn't have anyone guarding him. These are immediate concerns. Plus, you said about he lacking the, bulk as a player.
Oh, he definitely needs to put on 15-20 to play any serious role in the post.
I think on the flip side of the coin, people don't look at the fact that there's a lot of American busts too. There's a lot of North American busts. It's not just that side of the fence. You do have to take a risk, obviously, with this type of, question marks whether they can translate to the American style ball. To go back to Dirk, he's an anomaly. I brought this up on Twitter this weekend. He's the first in the history of the NBA basketball, first kind of NBA superstar who didn't play any American AAU ball, high school ball, NCAA ball, went straight into the league from Europe or any other country outside the U.S. and is going to be a Hall of Famer. No one else has really done that. And so he's setting the tone in his ridiculously magnificent career to say, guess what, guys can come from over here and play. It takes a while. Dirk really struggled his first 2-3 years in the league because it was tough. He wasn't used to that.
I think Kristaps will. I think because of the adjustment to the game, because he's going to have to gain some weight. And
Dirk was really skinny when he came in too.
No, for sure. But I think finding that position, that fit are going to be key for him. I think he's a player that can't. I don't think he'd be a good New York Knick at number 4, all that pressure. I think a guy like that wants to go into a rebuilding situation, a situation where he can be nurtured. I think, like we said in our draft previews and previous shows, Orlando next to Vucevic, where it's a young team, Scott Skiles putting that defensive emphasis, he would almost be the main offensive play. And you have those point guards in Elfrid Payton and such who can give you the ball. Or even the 76ers.
Embiid.
Yeah, we're hearing about Embiid having some setbacks with that foot. And they're just collecting assets. And people really see him as the number 2 prospect and number 3 if he's there for Philly. you got to take him. I think the Lakers, because they're kind of handcuffed to this whole Kobe Bryant situation, I don't think they have the luxury of waiting for him to get good.
Right.
And as much as they would love to pair that Pow with Kobe, I think it's more of a fit thing. But you know what? It's interesting, right? Because while Dirk did prove that Europeans can make it
against the odds,
he still is setting this incredible bar. And it's kind of like in a weird comparison how we're seeing LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has just set this bar at such this high level. Everyone's expecting you to either be a bust or Dirk Nowitzki. And if you're not a Dirk Nowitzki, you're a bust, right? And so you can still be an incredible player, but because you're a 7-footer, because you can shoot the ball. Like if he didn't have that shooting capability, he was just an athletic guy who attacked the rim, I feel there'd almost be less pressure. But because there's all this, but he's a coachable kid. Everyone likes him, intelligent, and works on every facet of his game, and hits his free throws. Big thing for the big guy.
And apparently on defensively, he's great on the wing. You know, he's got long arms, like you said. He's able to kind of stretch and get out there.
Well, that's why he has to play the 4, not the 5, right? He can't be expected to body up with the big bulk guys every game. He has to be allowed to roam a little bit more, weak side shot blocking, close out quickly to the wings, use that athleticism, use that length to his advantage, and he could be an interesting player. But if you look at him so far, I mean, look, let's be honest, he's played overseas, we're looking at tape, we're looking at pre-draft workouts, it's still a gamble. We don't know as much about this player as we do about the D'Angelo Russells, about the Jahlil Okafors, and such players of the world. When you look at him, do you see star, role player, or bust?
Me? I like how you said uniqueness, because it's rare you find a guy who you can't just peg. Oh, he's that. But it really does come down to work ethic and being in the right scenario. Like you said, you have to be...
Well, he definitely has that work ethic, and he's proven it for years.
What I've read, he really has to be in a scenario where they're patient, like a Kawhi Leonard having that ability to grow in San Antonio. So it really depends on situation, that he stays healthy. Like you said, he has to build his body. I could see him being an all-star if he's in the right scenario.
So this is more of a question that we can better answer once we see where he's landed post-draft in the 25th.
Yeah, and because of all these horror stories, I can also see him out of the league in 3 years if he just ends up the wrong place.
I actually completely agree with you, and I think this is a question we need to revisit, and we will on our recap show when we do the NBA draft.
Last question though, who do you think is going to take him? You said maybe number 2?
You know what? I think the Timberwolves are juggling between Okafor and Towns. I think hopefully ultimately they take Towns. The Lakers, I think they have to go with the other one just because they can't afford to wait that long because of Kobe. So I think his ceiling starts at number 3, even though he may be a number 2 talent, but the Lakers justify that more veteran or NBA ready guy. So I think the 76ers, if all the GMs are considering him a top pick, I think Sam Hinkie picks him up just to have that asset. And there's like, listen, we're going to have an internet bid, we're going to have every once in a while, we're going to have Kristaps, and we're going to figure it out later. Obviously, they need a guard. Obviously, D'Angelo Russell and Manuel Mudiay make more sense. And then you go to 5. Orlando makes sense. You go to 6. Sacramento. Put him next to Boogie Cousins, stretching the floor. Athleticism next to more of an inside post guy who likes to be physical. Exactly. And then
having Pilates teach him how to pass, because that's one of his weaknesses.
Absolutely. So. And then number 7, I can see it again. That's Denver. Denver just needs talent. And they look like they're rebuilding. They're trying to ship out Fareed and Lawson. That could be the guy they build on. And then even number 8, I think that's his floor. There's no way he passes. But if Stan Van Gundy can get a big guy to play next to Andre Drummond,
because Monroe apparently is out now. So.
Absolutely. So if you can bring him in on a nothing contract, he's a rookie, right? Allow him to grow with Andre Drummond, be that perfect defense-offense, athletic front court, who can shoot the 3. That's a Stan Van Gundy system. So I think really he's a 3 to 8 player. I'd be really surprised if he slips past 5 at Orlando. But this is the NBA draft, and we have some strange GMs making some picks. So,
well, no more David Kahn, but Kristaps Porzingis. That's a name to remember, and like you said, a lot of potential, a lot of question marks. We'll see down the road.
Exactly.